I'm sure you remember the report, the undercover investigation from the Center for Medical Progress. They were doing an undercover investigation, talking to people with Planned Parenthood, the other people that were supplying baby body parts in that abortion industry. They came to them as buyers so they could get them to candidly admit on tape what they're truly doing, because, of course, they're going to deny it. In many cases, what they were talking about is prohibited. And you've heard those tapes. You've heard the debate going back and forth. And then the response of those who are defenders of Planned Parenthood and the abortion industry shot the messenger. They came after the Center for Medical Progress. They tried to bring criminal charges for them in Texas, trying to say that they had recorded people without their permission. Those charges were dropped. That was months ago. There's also a civil lawsuit brought by one of the companies, STEM Express. That was also dropped. But now we've got California filing 14 felony charges against the people who are recording this. So today they released another tape, and I think it's very interesting that on this tape, you have an individual who is saying, you really have to watch who's in the room when you do this, when you pull these body parts out. And when you look at this child, we have very strict laws here in Arizona. If there's any sign of life, we have to send this baby to the emergency room. So you have to be real careful when you pull this out, because you got to make sure that you want to make sure that the baby's alive, but that there's no witnesses to you killing the baby. See, that's what is being put out here. That's why when you do an investigation of somebody that is alleged, and there were allegations that this is what was happening, when you do an investigation of somebody that is committing murder, you don't get their permission. But of course, you also don't get an investigation or a conviction if they have political connections like Planned Parenthood does. I'm going to play this clip for you, then we're going to talk about the details involved in this, the implications of these newest charges coming out of California today, as well as this newest tape. Here's the part of the videotape that came out today.
The issue is it's not a matter of how I feel about it coming out intact. I'm not going to worry about my staff and people's feelings about it coming out looking like a baby. I just don't even want to send a fetus for cremation or any of that.
Absolutely, it's asking for trouble.
Yeah.
Right.
We have the people who do our paperwork for the fetal death certificates. They email us calling them babies. Baby this, baby that, baby so-and-so. And I'm like, that's creepy.
Yeah,
Is there any standard procedure for verifying signs of life?
Well, the thing is,
That doesn't go in a chart.
I mean, the key is you need to pay attention to who's in the room, right? My biceps appreciate when the ditch works.
Really?
So,
It's in the biceps when you're doing a
It
DNA?
does not take me any longer to complete the procedure, but it takes more.
Really?
So that's the tape that was released today by the Center for Medical Progress. At the same time, they were charged with 14 felony counts for violating the privacy of these people who are murdering children, and a 15th charge of criminal conspiracy to invade privacy. Now, I want to look at this WND article that covers the details here. They talk about how the state of California is, first of all, very late in doing this. Why did they wait so long to do this? Why were the charges dropped in other jurisdictions? Of course, California is not Texas. They're going to come after them most likely. They say that, and this is a quote about what one of the ladies said when she said, she tries to make sure the babies are dismembered before removal because of the visual impact of the dead victim. Remember in that clip you saw there? It's not a matter of how I felt about the unborn baby coming out intact, but I've got to worry about my staff, you know? In other words, I don't really have any compulsion about tearing up a newly born baby, but some people in my staff might get squeamish about this. People's feelings about it coming out, it looks like a baby. Yeah, it looks like a baby, has a heartbeat like a baby, breathes like a baby, all that stuff. Yeah, maybe it's a baby, or maybe it's a duck. Maybe it's something completely different. Who knows? She is a former medical operator for Planned Parenthood, Arizona. She now runs her own abortion business. She decided she would get rich instead. Now, some of the other things that were said in there I want to remind you of. She said Arizona is so conservative that they make her name the babies in some case. She said the people that handle death certificates have said that you've got to give a name to the baby. She said that's so creepy to refer to it as a baby, to have to give it a name. You know, it just simply looks like a baby. Like I said, it has a heartbeat. She said that the request is problematic because if there's signs of life, they're talking to her about getting unadulterated baby tissue. She says it's really kind of hard because if there's any sign of life, I've got to send the baby to a hospital. And she says that makes it tricky. I have to pay attention to who's in the room. See, that is why you don't get their permission to record them when they're involved in doing something like that. She's not concerned about whether or not the baby's alive, just whether or not she can harvest the tissue and anybody sees her kill the baby. That's the issue here. Now, pro-life group Susan B. Anthony List pointed this out. They said the abortionist may laugh as she describes the force needed to dismember a 5-month-old unborn child struggling to survive. But even the staff are not immune to the terrible sight of aborted children and babies possibly born alive, left to die, as we saw with Kermit Gosnell. Remember when we interviewed them? Remember that? People who don't understand what this is. And there's a lot of millennials who are taking the side of Tommy Lauren. Let me say something to you. This is just not a philosophy, okay? This isn't something where you get to choose or not choose whether or not you're going to mutilate a child. You don't get that choice. You don't get a choice about having sex with underage kids. You don't get a choice about ripping up babies. We aren't going to allow you to do that. Sorry, it isn't an academic exercise. You need to stop looking at yourself in the mirror long enough to look at these videos and really truly understand what's going on. That's what the problem is with some of these millennial stars that we've got out there. One of the companies, they say, that produces body parts, STEM Express, had sued the investigators, but then moved to dismiss this. But listen to why they do this motivation. They have to pay $55 to get a baby's brain, but they can sell it for $3,340. That's 61 times the price. You know that even if you take out that's about 6,000% profit margin. And as one of the people who was analyzing this said, you can hire a lot of attorneys to throw up a propaganda lawsuit that is aimed not to vindicate their legal rights, but to influence public opinion. You understand that? When they're making that kind of profit, when they're making that kind of money, they got a lot of profit to come after somebody and sue them for the purpose of public opinion. And that's what's really going on here. That's what's going on with the Democrats and the abortion industry that feeds the Democrats. And they point out, they say propaganda lawsuits are expensive. STEM Express decided this one was no longer worth the money because the story had died down. Hopefully, when Congress removes Planned Parenthood's $500 million annual tax revenue stream, we'll see Planned Parenthood rethink the merit of its own propaganda lawsuit against David Daleiden and CMP. And understand, she's talking about, when she's talking about ripping up this child, she says on the tape, she says, I realize I really need to use this digoxin, which she calls it DIG. It's a feticidal agent. In other words, it kills the baby. That's a scientific way of saying it kills the baby. She says, my biceps appreciate it when the DIG works. I remember when I was a fellow and I was training and I was like, I have to hit the gym for this. I'm just not strong enough to rip a baby apart with my bare hands. I had to do some training to do that. Yeah, we all need to do some training, don't we? So that is where this story is. And at the same time, we look at how they constantly shoot the messenger. Look at some more Democrat hypocrisy that came out today. We had Paul Joseph Watson's story. Today, did Obama's defense deputy just admit spying on Trump? She's talking in a very comfortable environment. As he points out, when you're talking with people who share your philosophical views, like Mika Brzezinski, who believes that the Russian doesn't believe it. She's selling this narrative, and so they're talking together. And she says, well, I had to hide this away in the bureaucracy because if the Trump people found out how we knew what we knew about their dealings with the Russians, then they would try to compromise those sources and methods, meaning that we no longer would have access to that intelligence. So then I had talked to some of the former colleagues, and I knew that they were also trying to get information. See, it doesn't matter how they get the information. It doesn't matter that they violate the laws. They're coming after these people who showed others talking about selling baby parts, ripping babies apart, and then selling those parts out there, profiting from it. We don't want to investigate that. Instead, we want to sue these people because they got the recording. She is talking about how we couldn't tell them how we're collecting information on Trump. Did they get anything? Of course they didn't. Because if they had something, they would have shown you by now. There is no smoking gun. What we have is a bunch of Democrats who have wiretapped Donald Trump and want to pretend that they didn't. But they're given a pass because for them, because of their politics and the side they're on, it doesn't matter if they break the law. It doesn't matter.
I am very proud to announce the introduction of the highest quality InfoWars Biome Defense Probiotic. We wanted to come out with the largest spectrum of high quality known probiotics that have been proven to improve overall digestion and health and detoxification in the body. Biome Defense is an exclusive blend of 50 billion live and active cultures from over 23 different probiotic strains that are known to support digestion and intestinal function. Our researchers are confident that we have been able to develop what will be the leading probiotic on the market. Secure your Biome Defense in ultra strength or regular strength at InfoWarsLife.com today and get started supporting your digestive system naturally. We've been testing this formula for years, but this is the limited first run to the public, so please take advantage of it today, support your own health, and support the InfoWar.